A lot of times when we think about the patient journey, we kind of almost think about it as an emotion or a feeling. But what I love that you did there is you broke it down by data. So based on that data, that's where you go in and start making changes to the patient journey.
Looking at the data will give you like actionable to-do items to actually start improving upon this patient journey, right? For example, like if your accepted treatment rate is kind of low, you could...
People always are blown away because I always tell people the worst kind of patients are marketing patients. And they're like, Gary, wait, don't you do marketing? And it's like, I do, but they are the worst kind of patients because they just... So what are you telling the people on the phone to help them build that rapport?
This is kind of a specific example of the type of new patients that we're generating into our practice from marketing is through our...
Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want. And today I have Alyssa with me, and she is the marketing coordinator at South County Smiles. And we're going to be talking about something that's really important around growth. It's something that Alyssa has gotten really good at, which is the patient journey. We're going to talk about how to build rapport on that first call, also having clinical handoffs, and what part of the patient journeys you can automate. Stay tuned. All right, Alyssa. So why don't you tell us what the number one thing that you're seeing as the marketing manager for South County Smiles? What are you seeing that's really driving the most growth for you guys right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say refining and focusing on, delivering a wow experience. So kind of making sure that, every patient is greeted with like a big smile by like our front desk. And the hygienists are just like going out of their way to give them the best care possible. And that usually leaves us with raving patients who leave our practice and they're like, you're not going to believe the experience that I had at South County Smiles. Like I had the best hygienist, the staff was so friendly. We found that's been very, very helpful for us for driving new patients into the practice for sure.
Absolutely. I would agree. I would say that if you can remove the frictions and the little things help them with the patient with the little things, like what you said, like greeting people when they walk through the door. I know it sounds so simple, but if you've ever been to a dental office before, I've walked in and sat down and no one says anything to me, right? And so those kind of things really matter, but how do you actually drive that? Like there's a lot, right? You got multiple practices, you got multiple people working at those practices. How do you actually make sure, how do you even begin to tackle something like that? It seems so big, the whole patient journey.
Right. Yeah. So you can kind of break it up into different steps when we're looking at like the patient journey, like you mentioned. And it starts with, appointing the patient. So that's where, your marketing is going to start and kind of like generating, the leads into the practice, getting those calls. And just generating new patients into the practice. And kind of just looking for any spots throughout the patient journey where patients might kind of like fall through. We're kind of looking at our appointed rate. And then from there, we're looking at our attended rate. So how many of those patients that we actually appointed are actually attending? And then from there, out of those patients who attended, like butts actually in chairs, right? They saw a provider. How many of those patients are accepting treatment? And then kind of, in between the appointed and accepted treatment, that's where we're looking at like the actual patient experience, like inside of our office. So yeah, that's kind of like the big picture of it for, the entirety of the patient journey. And then making sure that we kind of deliver that wow experience for them, once they're appointed, they attend and they hopefully accept treatment because we deliver them a wow experience.
Hey, I got something crazy to share with you, and I'm going to get you right back to the show, I promise. So we have an event called AlignerCon coming up next year, and this month we're giving away a buy one, get one free. We're going to be partnering with ClearCorrect, and this is going to be one of the biggest events that we've ever done in Nashville, Tennessee, in the biggest hotel in America. If you want to come to this, again, we're going to give you a buy one, get one free. We want to meet you in person. Just go to alignercon.com, and we're going to teach you how to create, convert, close, and even some clinical components around clear aligners. So don't miss this event. Go check it out now. Back to the show.
That's awesome. Yeah, what I love about this is that a lot of times when we think about the patient journey, we kind of almost think about it as an emotion or a feeling. Like we want them to be happy, and it's kind of hard to measure that, right? Like you don't really know. But what I love that you did there is you broke it down by data. So you said, okay, we pointed 100, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misunderstanding this. We booked 100 new patients, but 90 showed up. So that's a 90% show rate. So that's pretty good. Yep. So we don't have to work on that. But only 50% of them accepted treatment. or whatever, right? Or 30% accepted treatment. That's low for us.
Right.
So based on that data, that's where you go in and start making
Yes.
changes to the patient journey.
Yes, absolutely. And looking at the data will give you like actionable to-do items to actually start improving upon this patient journey, right? So if you have a no-show rate of like maybe 60%, like, that's not so good. So like maybe you might look at your average time from when the patient is actually appointed to when they're actually like have the appointment. Like, is that like 1 month, 2 months? Like, are they waiting a long time from when they like made that decision to convert to your practice and become a new patient, like in their mind, versus 2 months later to when they actually like get in the chair? Maybe, I don't know, something comes up or they found another practice, or like their dental problems are just different. So yeah, looking at the data, it'll give you these actionable to-dos. And then, for example, like if your accepted treatment rate is kind of low, you can look at, well, do we need patient financing options? Do we need some, maybe like patient educational materials because we feel like we need to do a better job of educating them on the treatment, and maybe that will help us, help them to convert to treatment. So there's a lot of actionable insights and actual to-dos that you can get from looking at the data to help you make decisions, and also to help you, start taking the next steps to improve upon this. Because when we say like, oh yeah, we look at the patient journey, it's like, okay, well, where do I go from there, right? Because it's this massive thing. So yeah, kind of breaking it down in steps, and then each kind of category has, KPIs in each of those buckets there.
So do you own the whole thing, or who owns the whole patient journey, or is it kind of split up?
So I oversee the whole thing with focus on, of course, from like generating, new patients into the practice up until probably like attended. And then our like admin team lead and our office manager will kind of see the attended to accepted treatment part of it. And that kind of goes into, training our clinical staff and things like that. So, but I will look at the KPIs because sorry.
Yeah, you pay attention to the whole thing though. So you're paying because you're really looking at the end result, but you're owning up to attended. So leading up to attended, what's something that recently that was like the number was bad, but then you went in and fixed it, and what you did to fix it?
So one of the things that we do is we try to make a connection with the patients over the phone and kind of like build that rapport. Because what's tough about bringing in new patients, especially from like a marketing source versus a internal referral source, right? Like their friend or family member recommended them to the practice. And I know you talk about this a lot, the power of patients that are referred internally versus patients that are referred from your marketing. Like these patients who are coming in from your marketing, like they don't have the same relationship or that same trust. Like, and I know for me, when I'm looking for a new doctor, a new person to cut my hair, like I start asking friends and family members. I'm like, where do you go? Who do you see? So one of the things that we do for the marketing patients on the phone is to kind of build that rapport with them, because we know that that's kind of like an area we can improve on for those types of patients, is building that rapport, building that trust up, because they haven't met us before, right? These new patients that are coming in from like our marketing and advertising. So it's a lot easier to like stand somebody up that you haven't met before, right? You just like met them online, talked to them on the phone, whatever, versus someone who, oh, my mom goes to this dentist. Like, she's had a really good experience there. Like, I know I'm going to have a really good experience there because I've heard testimonials from people that I really like are in my inner circle. So, kind of building that rapport with them on the phone.
People always are blown away because I always tell people the worst kind of patients are marketing patients, and they're like, Gary, wait, don't you do marketing? And it's like, I do, but they are the worst kind of patients because they just don't know you yet. So that all those touch points and rapports have to be built. So what are you telling the people on the phone to help them build that rapport?
So kind of to get specific, this is kind of a specific example of the type of new patients that we're generating into our practice from marketing is through our implant sales funnel. So we have an implant landing page that, is sponsored through Google Ads. So if someone searches, dental implants near me, will pop up. They'll come to our landing page, and it kind of squeezes them down the landing page to make a decision. They fill out a questionnaire. And at the end of the questionnaire, they, submit their contact details, and then we follow back up with them. And those about 20 questions or so that are in the questionnaire before they submit their contact details, we're asking questions like, how many teeth are you missing? And also like types of questions that will like trigger their emotions. Like, what's the number one thing that's been, making you put off treatment? Is it, money, finances? Is it time? Is it like anxiety, right? You just don't look forward to going to the dentist. And then we're pulling up those quiz results when we're calling these new patients who submitted interest, right? And we're looking at those quiz results and we're like, hey, I see that, you've been putting off treatment because, finances, like we have, this third-party financing company that could really help you out with that. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're like so blown away that, we took the time to actually look at that information beforehand, because now we're almost like starting off a couple steps ahead of the game, right? We have this background information on them. And that goes a long way for sure. So that's helped a lot. Yeah.
That's huge. So yeah, knowing what their actual problem is, not just dental, right? Like that's what a lot of offices do, is just like, do you want a dentist or not? You know what I mean? Like even going to the doctor is like that too. Like I'll go to the doctor and I'm like, I'm really scared about this. And I'm scared of the doctor and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, you didn't really help me. You didn't even try to make me feel better. And then the doctor comes in, and there's this disconnect. One thing that I know that dental offices struggle with a lot with when this happens is they will. So even if you do it on the phone, sometimes that doesn't make it to the clinical side. How do you? So if someone's like, okay, I'm concerned about financing and I'm scared of pain, and you're like, oh yeah, our doctors are really good, blah blah blah. How do you then get that information over to the clinical side so they know when they come in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of different places to put it in your PMS system, but that's where we're putting it, is in our PMS system. So whether it's like a flag in the patient's chart that, the clinical staff is seeing right when they click on their appointment, it's like the first thing that comes up might be like, maybe like a social flag. I know a lot of offices do that. And it's like, going to URI this fall. And then you can kind of like continue to build on that rapport. We're also like downloading those quiz results into like a PDF format and putting that into their document center. So that way the clinical staff can see that and review that as well. So they can start off where they left off. And then we'll also in the appointment notes kind of maybe put some notes from the call to help that as well. That's a great question, because like
all basic stuff, right? It's not like you're like out here like groundbreaking technology to do this kind of stuff. It's just like, hey, take a couple minutes, attach this to their charts, but it makes like that separate, that puts you in the top 5% of offices like instantly. That number one, that you're building rapport on the phone, but then number two, that you're passing that rapport all the way through the whole patient journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it requires like good communication throughout the team as well. Like I know a lot of offices, push the importance of like doing a morning huddle. So you can kind of get your ducks in a row, but also to kind of like talk a little like background, like about the patients for these types of things as well. And I feel like that goes the extra mile as well. And kind of being coordinated, right? When you go into like the clinical room and having a good handoff, it's like orchestrating, like a band. It's this whole symphony. So
yeah, that is really true. Like it is like a band or an orchestra when everybody's working together. It sounds beautiful. When everybody's playing their own thing at the beginning when they're warming up, it doesn't sound that great, right? So it's like how do we get everybody working together? What else do you do in the patient journey that you've seen that brings a lot of success?
Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but we got a quick segment for you that's called Ask Gary, and we have some people that have been sending in marketing questions that I think will really help you. If you'd want to send in your question, all you have to do is send in an email to askgary@smcnational.com, or you can leave a comment or DM us, and we're happy to answer it that way too. So today's question comes in from George, and his question is, what does a good marketing budget look like as far as the dollar amount? And if this is a really hard question to answer because it really depends on what your goals are. So I'm not going to answer it in dollars, but I'm going to answer it in percentage. Rule number one is never ask a marketing guy, how much should we spend? That is the worst thing you can ask them because they want to spend to the moon, right? Really what you should be looking at is the percentage of your total revenue in marketing budget. So you want to take a percentage. So 1 to 2% of your total revenue is a really small marketing budget, and you're probably not going to grow. So if you make $100,000 in total revenue every single month, 1% of that is going to be $1,000. 2% would be $2,000. If you are going to really want to grow, you have to be above 3% or more to be able to grow. grow. And if you want to really see explosive growth, usually that's going to be in that 4 to 7% range. Now, when you get into massive growth or really needing to like add an associate or you added a bunch of new operatories that you need to fill, you added a new hygienist that you need to fill their schedule, then that's when you get into that like 6 to 10% range. And that's the general range, 1 to 10%, depending on what you're trying to do. Obviously, this is for GP. When you get into like full arch marketing, your budget can be as high as 20% of your total revenue because that's a totally different beast. So hopefully that helps you.
I would say our team culture has been a big focus for us. So the last 2 years, we're proud to have won the Rhode Island's Best Places to Work award by Providence Business News. And we have those plaques hanging in our office. And a lot of patients will leave us reviews and they're like, I'm so glad I chose this office. I can see why this is a best place to work. And so many patients comment on just the culture and like, they're like, everybody there was smiling and happy. Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like to see employees in a work environment and they're like actually enjoying each other's company, that kind of like, just like gives them good vibes. You know what I mean? And especially in a place like a dental office where people are kind of on edge, a little bit anxious. If your team members, have a positive demeanor and they're, conversating with their team members in a way that's like really positive, upbeat, and they just look like they're genuinely enjoying working there, like that definitely helps as well. So the culture and having good employee engagement, because, if we treat our team members well, then they're going to be energized and motivated. They're not going to be very motivated to.
All right, Alyssa, I totally agree with you. If you don't have happy team members, you're not going to have happy patients. And that is definitely very high on the list of important things that people should do for growing. I would love to pick your brain on any automations that you guys have in your patient journey, especially on the ops side.
Yeah. So some of the standard things that we're automating is our new patient paperwork, right? So that gets sent in a text, in an email, 15 minutes after the new patient creates their appointment. They fill that out on their phone, their laptop, whatever, and then that automatically gets uploaded into our PMS system. We also can automate our consent forms, and those will link to the procedure codes in the appointment. So that way they're getting that consent form before their appointment. You don't have to do it during the appointment, kind of saves a little bit of time there. Same thing, automatically goes into the document center. And one tool that I found recently, which has been really huge for us, is this software called Cola. And that is owned by co-founder of Weave and former chief technology officer, Clint Berry. And I was like doing all this, like I was going down this rabbit hole of trying to connect our PMS system to a CRM, right? And this is a huge like problem that people face in small businesses, like with dental, because like your PMS system doesn't connect to like Constant Contact or Zapier or like any productivity apps or like any CRMs like HubSpot, Zoho, etc. So what Cola will do is kind of act as a connector between your PMS system and a lot of those popular productivity apps that I mentioned and like CRMs.
Wow.
Yeah. So what we're doing.
What's it called? Cola?
Cola, yep, which is Greek for glue.
So COLA, like Coca-Cola?
Like KOLLA.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and that's been huge.
And so then you're able to then use that to integrate a lot of different softwares that you normally wouldn't be able to. And then what PMS do you guys use?
We use Dentrix.
Okay, perfect. So then now you're attaching whatever, a CRM or some kind of software. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And going back to kind of how we were talking about, the patient journey, having a CRM to manage that patient journey and automatically read our PMS system, using Cola, it's, reading any important information, like if they scheduled an appointment, because what I had been doing in the past is, kind of have those implant leads being zapped and automated to a Google Sheets. And then I would have to go into our PMS system, see if they scheduled an appointment and kind of keep up with their journey throughout and if they accepted treatment. But now with having the CRM automatically connected to our PMS system, it's just going to automatically update that for us. So it does a really great job of just overseeing all those important KPIs and just the whole funnel when we're looking at the patient journey.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
That is a great way to end this interview. You did a great job. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your journey and just what you're working on. And it's super helpful to other people. I know other people are going to hear this get inspired, and begin to work through what they're doing. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.